Welcome to Kuma English Listening Hub. Today's episode is about something many people do every morning, but few people think deeply about: grinding coffee. We're going to explore why grind size and timing can completely change the taste of your coffee, even if you use the same beans, the same water, and the same machine. This topic is perfect for B2 listeners because it mixes everyday life with science and practical decisions. You don't need to be a professional barista. If you've ever tasted coffee that felt sour, bitter, or weak, this episode will help you understand what might be happening. Let's start with a simple question. Why do we grind coffee at all? Coffee beans are like little sealed containers that hold hundreds of aromatic compounds. When you grind a bean, you break it into many pieces, and that increases the surface area. More surface area means water can touch more coffee quickly, and that allows flavor to move from the coffee into the water. This process is called extraction. Extraction is the movement of soluble compounds from the coffee grounds into the water. Some compounds dissolve easily and come out early. Others dissolve more slowly and come out later. This is important because different compounds taste different. Early extraction often brings bright, acidic, fruity notes. Later extraction brings more sweetness and body, but if you go too far, you can extract harsh, bitter flavors. So, the goal is balance. Most people aren't trying to extract everything. They're trying to extract the right amount. In coffee, people often talk about under-extraction and over-extraction. Under-extracted coffee can taste sour, sharp, or thin. Over-extracted coffee can taste bitter, dry, or rough. Now, grind size is one of the biggest factors controlling extraction. Imagine two situations. In the first, you have very fine coffee grounds, almost like powder. In the second, you have coarse grounds, more like small crystals of salt. If you pour hot water on both, which one extracts faster? The fine grind extracts faster because it has far more surface area. That's why espresso uses a fine grind. Espresso is brewed quickly, often in 25 to 35 seconds. The water doesn't have much time, so the coffee needs to extract fast. On the other hand, a French press usually uses a coarse grind. It steeps for about 4 minutes, so there's plenty of time for extraction. If you used espresso fine grounds in a French press, the coffee would likely taste bitter and feel muddy because too much would extract and too many tiny particles would pass through the filter. But grind size isn't only about speed, it also affects flow. In methods where water moves through coffee, like drip coffee or pour over, the grind size changes how easily water can pass. If the grind is too fine, the water may flow too slowly, causing over-extraction. If it's too coarse, the water may flow too quickly, causing under-extraction. Let's talk about a common situation. You buy a bag of beans and brew a pour-over. One day, it tastes amazing. The next day, it tastes completely different. Why? Many people blame the beans, but the real reason is often consistency. A small change in grind size can lead to a noticeable difference in taste. Another big factor is particle distribution, which means the mix of different sizes in your ground coffee. Even if your grinder is set to medium, you might still get some fine particles in some larger pieces. Those fine particles are called fines. Fines extract quickly and can create bitterness. The larger pieces, sometimes called boulders, extract slowly and can leave sourness behind. So, a grinder that produces a more even grind often makes better tasting coffee. This is why people who love coffee talk so much about grinders. Sometimes they say, upgrade your grinder before you upgrade your coffee machine. That might sound extreme, but there is logic behind it. There are two main types of grinders: blade grinders and burr grinders. A blade grinder chops the coffee like a small blender. It's fast and cheap, but it creates an uneven mix. Some pieces become dust, while others stay big. A burr grinder crushes beans between two surfaces called burrs. It usually produces a more consistent grind, which helps extraction become more even. Now let's discuss timing. People often say you should grind coffee right before brewing. But why does timing matter so much? After grinding, coffee starts to lose aroma quickly. Many of the most interesting smells and flavors are volatile, meaning they evaporate easily. When the bean is whole, those compounds are protected inside. When the bean is ground, they are exposed to air. Think about cutting an apple. Right after you cut it, it looks fresh. After some time, it turns brown because oxygen reacts with the fruit. Coffee doesn't turn brown in the same way, but it does react with oxygen. This is called oxidation. Oxidation can make flavors taste flat or stale. Also, ground coffee releases carbon dioxide. Fresh coffee beans contain trapped gas from the roasting process. This gas release is called degassing. When you brew coffee, a little carbon dioxide can be helpful because it can push water around and improve extraction. But too much gas, especially in very fresh coffee, can block water from reaching parts of the coffee grounds. This can lead to uneven extraction. This brings us to an interesting point. The best timing is not always as fresh as possible. If coffee is roasted yesterday, it may not brew well today. Many coffee drinkers wait several days after roasting, especially for espresso, to allow some degassing. For filter coffee, the waiting time can be shorter, but it still matters. So we have two timelines, time since roasting and time since grinding. Coffee usually benefits from resting a bit after roasting, but it usually suffers when it sits too long after grinding. Let's make this practical. Imagine you grind coffee and then answer emails for 30 minutes before brewing. Your coffee will still work, but you may notice less aroma and a more dull taste. If you grind and brew immediately, the smell will be stronger and the flavor may feel brighter and more complex. Water temperature also interacts with grind size and timing. Hotter water extracts faster. Cooler water extracts more slowly. If your coffee tastes bitter, you could slightly lower the water temperature or make the grind a little coarser. If it tastes sour, you could raise the temperature or grind a little finer. However, it's easy to make too many changes at once. A smart approach is to change only one variable at a time. For example, keep the same dose of coffee, the same amount of water, and the same brewing method. Then adjust only the grind size. This helps you learn what each change does. Let's do a quick taste map. This is not perfect science, but it helps. If your coffee tastes sour, sharp, or like it lacks sweetness, it may be under-extracted. Try a finer grind or a longer brew time. If your coffee tastes bitter, dry, or like it leaves a rough feeling in your mouth, it may be over-extracted. Try a coarser grind or a shorter brew time. But there's another taste problem. Coffee can taste both sour and bitter at the same time. This often happens when extraction is uneven. Some particles are over-extracted while others are under-extracted. This can be caused by an inconsistent grind, poor pouring technique, or channeling an espresso, where water finds an easy path and ignores other areas. If you want a simple daily routine, here is a practical method. First, choose a brew method you enjoy, like pour over, drip, AeroPress, or French press. Second, choose a starting grind size recommended for that method. Third, keep notes. You don't need a complicated notebook. Just write grind setting, brew time, and taste. Over time, you'll notice patterns. Maybe on humid days, your coffee flows slower in a pour-over. Maybe one type of bean needs a slightly different grind. This is normal. Coffee is an agricultural product. Beans can vary from region to region, and even from bag to bag. Now, let's talk about one more detail people often forget. The grinder itself needs care. Old coffee oils and tiny particles can build up inside. This can create bad smells and even change the taste. Cleaning your grinder once in a while can make your coffee noticeably better. Also, if you use a burr grinder, the burrs can wear down over time. Most home users don't need to worry often, but if you grind large amounts of coffee for years, the burrs may become less sharp, which can change grind consistency. So, what is the key message of today's episode? Grinding is not just a technical step, it's one of the most powerful tools you have to control flavor. Grind size controls how quickly coffee extracts and how water flows. Grind consistency affects whether extraction is even. Timing matters because coffee loses aroma after grinding and changes as it reacts with air. If you want to improve your coffee without buying expensive equipment, start with these simple actions. Grind right before brewing. Try small adjustments to grind size. Keep one variable steady while you experiment. And pay attention to taste, because your tongue is the final judge. Before we finish, here's a quick challenge for you. Tomorrow, brew your coffee as usual, but change only one thing. Adjust the grind slightly finer or slightly coarser. Then taste carefully. Ask yourself, is it brighter, sweeter, more bitter, or more balanced? This small experiment will teach you more than reading a long list of rules. Thanks for listening to Kuma English Listening Hub. If you enjoyed this episode, you can listen again and focus on the key vocabulary like extraction, surface area, consistency, oxidation, and degassing. See you in the next episode.